Hello, my fellow Extraordinary Americans. I'm Cosmos Samaddar, and this is Extraordinary America. What is Extraordinary America about? You see, American identity is about freedom, the opportunity for a better life, and the pursuit of happiness. However, most Americans are not free when it comes to the financial front. Most Americans are suffering from financial slavery due to loss of jobs, stagnant wages, inflation, and debt of all kinds. Wealth and income inequality runs rampant across America, and the middle class is all but disappeared. So what is Extraordinary America about? Extraordinary America is about the abolition of financial slavery. It is about the financial freedom of the 99%. It is about the nation of immigrants and descendants of immigrants awakening and unleashing the extraordinary within themselves and setting themselves free. The path to financial freedom is through entrepreneurship and investing on the light side. It is about financial education, not only when it comes to money in the monetary systems, but also in regards to how to start a business, investing, especially when it comes to precious metals and real estate. In this podcast, I interview guests, many of whom came from humble beginnings, to see how they did it and how they attained financial freedom in their own lives and how they did business. And it is my hope that you will be inspired and you will want to awaken extraordinary within yourselves and realize the American dream. Once again, welcome to Extraordinary America. Welcome back to the show, my fellow Extraordinary Americans. For today's guest, we have Kirk McLaren. Kirk is the financial freedom guy. His mission is for business owners to gain financial freedom on their terms. He believes that when business owners do well, many people do well. He invented the Growth CFO financial freedom system and is the founder and CEO of Foresight CFO, a true team of growth-minded financial experts helping organizations with their tactical and strategic finances as they develop habits of profitability. He's also a Georgetown University graduate studies lecturer and Forbes author. He wrote The Growth CFO Void, which achieved Amazon's #1 bestseller in 2023. His love of business building started in high school when he built a lawn business that earned $1.2 million in annual revenue before he sold it. He has the skills of a CFO combined with 30 years of actual business building. He's an extraordinary American, and I'm glad and honored to have him on this show. Kirk, are you there?
Hey, Cosmo. Thank you for the introduction. Very kind. I am here.
Thank you so much for taking the time to do this podcast, Kirk. I'm really honored to have you on the show. So, Kirk, I know that you're an entrepreneur and you're into business. Can you tell me, the audience, a little bit more about yourself, your background, and how you got started?
Yeah, just by way of background, I grew up in a very middle class family. Like my dad was a salesperson, my mom was a teacher in Houston, Texas, of all places, and good family upbringing. My dad was involved. He traveled a lot, but he was involved, and mother and both valued education, and of course, finished high school. In high school, the big thing there was started a lawn business. Most people in Texas, it's hot. In Houston, it's really hot and humid. And so, I'm good at math. With one customer is $20, two customers is $40, and pretty soon, 1,500 customers. So by the third year, 75 employees, and we had some innovative things in the business about how we got clients from we call it a piggyback drop system. We got clients with no cost of acquisition, and we had multiple crews off one truck. I didn't know it back then, but that's operational leverage. And just, from a high school standpoint, it was just a lot, good experience. Sold the business, went to college at Texas A&M. And I can say that was not a good experience, right? I'm 19, 20 years old, and kind of stuck in school, opening books kind of stuff. So the first Gulf War started, dropped out of school, and I joined the U.S. Army as a behavioral scientist. And fortunately, never saw any action, right? Back then, the war was over quick, thank God, because I got no romantic idea about what war is like. But it gave me a chance to serve, and it gave me a chance to serve as a behavioral scientist, which really started to understand people even more than I did growing up. And that's to the way we work now as growth CFO, that's formative. Like really, listening, asking questions, find out where people want to go. You want me to keep going, like how I got married, that kind of stuff? Okay.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, bring it all the way in. I was out of Army. I went to grad school at Hopkins. They said I had to learn a foreign language of all things, right? And with my language aptitude, I definitely was not going to learn Spanish living in Washington, D.C. It was not going to be that easy. And so I ended up finishing the academic part early, and then I went to live in Venezuela for a whole year. And it was pretty awesome because you can hear this theme. You talk about freedom. I was free when I went in the Army, and I was free in Venezuela. I literally took nothing but a backpack, a school age backpack, and I lived for a whole year. And you can imagine my parents are, they're teachers, they're salespeople. My brother is a physician. They play it safe. Then they had this other kid over here, me, that drops out of school, joins the Army, starts a business, goes to Venezuela with no money, just a backpack. But it worked out. I met Najarit, and she became my wife, and we came back here, and 2 sons later, and at this point, 28 years later, I think from a business standpoint, like household income, from a business building standpoint, I learned how to gain financial freedom in that part of the journey. The part I'm working on now is, well, what about life and that multi-generational legacy where I can impact multiple generations? I don't care about consumption, but I do care about development, spiritual, mental, physical, vocational. I do care about that piece. So all that to say, I mean, 3 decades of business building experience. Foresight CFO is my do it with you company. My growth CFOs work side by side with companies to figure out where are you at, where do you want to go, and by way of background, that's probably a pretty good start. What do you think?
No, I mean, there's so many questions to ask over here, but one of the questions I wanted to ask, Kirk, is what was your strategic vision over the past 3 decades that got you from going on a backpack to Venezuela to like now, like founding Foresight CFO and like just doing what you're doing, like helping people attain financial freedom? Because I feel like that's a very interesting understanding, right? Like what led to what evolution led to where you are now.
Yeah, well, let's talk about like back then. Back then, I did not have a strategic vision. Back then I was just doing. I see a lot of people, a lot of young people are more intentional than I was. For me, I had a pretty low bar. If you and I came up with a good idea, I would jump in and do it, and with some level of confidence that we'll figure it out. We know the what and why. I jump in and do it. And so I literally just followed the bread. I'm more inspired by vision. If there's something we want to do, the creativity, we do it. Over time, things have come together where now, I want to start a ripple effect through growth CFO and through life. I want to start a ripple effect that plays out over the next 500 years. Like, I don't know if you know Luca Pasilio. He's the father of accounting, but 500 years ago, he started something that allowed people to keep track of their money. And then here we are now. Can you imagine how much better life has been for people that all these generations could keep track of their money? So I want to do something similar, but on the growth CFO side. How do we elevate, what's being done, where people can build a business with more confidence, not safe, but safer. And even more importantly, no one is just building a business to build a business. Nothing else to do is build a business. More importantly is, what does that person want in their life? Like freedom of time, purpose, and money. And that's at that point, it took. I didn't start out with a vision of life, but I do now. When a person has clarity about their life, then it starts to make a lot of sense. Well, how do we build the business? What's the right role for them in the business versus all the hats they could be stuck wearing? So I didn't start out with like at 8 years old, I knew exactly what I wanted to do. It was nothing like that. It was more like, that sounds good. Oh, I want to serve. Yeah, I'm not happy in college. The idea of serving in the Army, it appealed to me, and did it. And then over time, all those things come together into what we're talking about now.
So Kirk, it's not easy to start a business, right? You just don't wake up one day and like be like, all right, I'm going to start a business and then I attain financial freedom. So a lot of people in the audience probably want to know like what are the steps that you have to take from scratch? Let's say you're just doing a job and you're like, okay, I want to start a business. I want to attain time and financial freedom. And how do I go about doing it? Like right now, I'm stuck in the job. and I'm paying these bills and all of that. Like, what would be your perspective on that?
Yeah, so for that person who's doing a job, it could be whatever, entry-level job, a professional job, I'm pretty sure that there's times throughout the week where they say something to the effect of somebody should do, right? There's something they're doing that's not being done well, that's not effective. And I'm pretty sure that they see things that can be done better. They see things that are not being done. I'm going to suggest that for the folks out there, pay attention to those moments. When I say or somebody else says somebody should, maybe that's the right business for them, right? And so I would identify those moments, those things that they could do better than what they currently see being done, and in their real life, based on what they actually have firsthand knowledge on.
Yeah, like Kirk, you talked about going to the Gulf War and everything. Like, my parents were actually in Kuwait when that happened, and basically, like, they were Indian immigrants, and then they moved back to India for 3 years, and then came back to Kuwait. But the major thing I noticed when I was in this country was that a lot of immigrants have, like, they're stuck by money. Like, they're not free financially. Like, it determines where they go, how they live, and all that stuff. And what they're trying to understand, like, basically, what they're trying to do is attain the freedom, but they don't have the motivation, or like they're too afraid to take the risk, because there's like a lot of risk that happens in business. So for somebody that wants to do what you have done, right, like where you started a business and everything, but they have like a job, but they're too afraid of the financial risk. What would you say to such a person?
Yeah, and just to be clear, not just immigrant parents, my parents, right? The fact that I go and start businesses, um, it gives them anxiety
But
beyond.
you make it sound so easy. Like, the way you said it, it just sounded like it was just natural, like just flowed free. But obviously, we know there was a lot of hard work and there was a lot of risk. It wasn't easy, obviously.
Yeah, and I think everybody has their own is going to have their own approach, and we'll break it down in a moment. For me, it was I always had a confidence that I can figure it out. I don't need to know the how. If you and I come up with the what and the why, like this would be better for this group of people, clients, customers, whatever it is. At that moment, I don't need to know the how. If there's a market there, if there's a demand there, somebody has the ability to pay because don't work for free kind of stuff. Um, so I think on some level, there's got to be a leap of faith. Like you literally go to the ledge, and as a potential entrepreneur, or potential business owner, that person has seen something that's better. This literally might be the reason why they're on the planet. They have seen something better that they could bring into existence. So they go to the ledge, and no matter how many people you talk to, no matter how much research you do, no matter how much experience you have, you're not going to know exactly how it's going to work out. You're not going to know exactly how to do it. I mean, you can definitely do the due diligence. I'm not saying be fly by night. I'm not saying be knee jerk. Do the due diligence. Talk to people. Put things across to people. But then ultimately, you got to go to the ledge, and you got to decide whether you're going to jump. Right? Just imagine Steve Jobs. Probably we all heard of him. Could you imagine if he would have gone to people and said something like, "Hey, I'm thinking about inventing a little device about the size of a postage stamp. I'm going to put 10,000 songs on it. What do you think about that idea?" Pretty sure most people would have said, just imagine the technology back then. This was way before the smartphone that he came out with, right?
Yeah.
People would have said, "Dude, you're crazy." When I was after the Army, after grad school, I got into telecom. And I was, revenue assurance manager, trying to figure out how to make money and revenue leakage for telecom companies. And there was this project where something about SMS, and I had to evaluate the market potential of SMS. And I was convinced back then, phones you could talk on, the phones had voicemail, and some of the phones even had email. So I looked at SMS. You can send a short little message. I was like, why would anybody ever use that? I couldn't even conceive that people would use that. So my analysis and expectation of SMS, which that's texting, right?
Yeah.
My expectation was that it's a feature nobody's going to use, right? I was 100% wrong, but whoever came up with that idea, whatever individual, whatever group, whatever team, they got it right. And so, but if they would have asked me, hey Kirk, I came up with this solution, SMS. What do you think about it? I'd have told them don't do it. I did tell them don't do it.
Wow.
But they could see something. I'm not them. They were born for something different than me. They have their freedom of their own purpose. I couldn't see it, but they could. Even now, when I work with business owners, I never evaluate whether I think they have a good idea or not. Only they know that. I can help them think about options, go to market, what's 80-20, what's driving outcomes, how do you make money, pricing. But they only they know if it's a go or no go. So I think no matter how much research you do, if you think you got something, if you feel it, go to the ledge and jump, knowing that you'll figure it out.
Kirk, that is really interesting because yes, SMS changed the course of the 21st century. Now everybody's just doing SMS, but yeah, it's just strange how like even in the last 100 years, like all these ideas revolutionized everything, like the internet, this technology, like even cars. Like we used to do horses. Like if you went to like somebody in the 17th century, you told them that one day you'll see planes flying around and cars going, they would have called you, they would have thought you were out of your mind.
They would have tied you to a stake, put lots of fuel around it, and lit you on fire as some kind of witch. Maybe colorful. Well, just think about it right now. So we're saying at one point in the 1800s, they thought everything that was going to be invented was invented. 1800s, all the machines and stuff. Okay, just imagine at this point right now, the new things on the frontier that we're just barely understand, like blockchain,
like AI,
right? Robotics with the AI brain, Web3. What's that, right? I mean, that's just a small sampling of just radically. It's not just going to change. AI is not just going to become smarter. AI is going to impact every industry, like healthcare and scientific research and religion, whatever. I mean, in ways that we probably can't. If we went to the whiteboard, we couldn't even conceive of. But all those all those entrepreneurs out there, hundreds of millions of people with their own creativity, their own life experience, they're going to experience specific problems where they're going to say something to the effect of somebody should. That's the opportunity.
Wow. No, I mean it's true, like right. So at the end of the day, like even if you have an idea, you have to like just because somebody is telling you can't do it doesn't mean you should listen to that. Like you should basically go for it, but you should also find a practical way of how to make that idea come into fruition. Because yeah, there's also the converse side of it where you have the imagination, but you're not doing the practical doing. Like what are the numbers? How are you going to go about doing it? How are you going to get funding? Where you're going to get the capital from, like those things also matter. It's kind of like the balance between the two worlds. There's like the dreamers, and then there's like the practical doers, and you have to be like you have to have a balance of both ultimately.
Yeah, you'll figure it out. Like, well, think about McDonald's, right? You had the McDonald's brothers. They really invented something cool, but they kept it local. And then somebody else came along, the milkshake salesman, and said, right, this is a bigger play here. And he saw real estate, that kind of stuff. So there's definitely I think it's smart not to bet the farm, right? On one, like whatever your go-to market is, whatever your prototype is for your product or service, do it in a way, most likely, Cosmo, I'm pretty sure that this is a concept you're familiar with. Most likely that whatever that vision is for that new product or service in the world, how it's going to benefit the people that you can touch, keep that vision constant, right? That is possible.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Then the go-to market, the strategy, the tactics to make this come into reality, the team members you have, the partners you have, those things on average will change 6 times, right? But hold the vision constant. Don't diminish what you're here to bring into the world. then have confidence. You'll figuring out who to do what with, and so definitely don't bet the farm, because the first thing you do probably is not going to work the way you thought it would. All right, like at Foresight, 9 years ago, what brought to market, I thought certain things would work, and they didn't. Right, and so just expect version 2, version 3, version 4. It's a data point. Okay, you do the first shot, see where it lands, adjust, take the second one. So you don't want to bet the farm on just that first shot, and then you're out of fuel, because then what, right? So I appreciate your sense of being practical. That it takes more than just a great vision.
Yeah, I mean, there's always like the dreamers, and like and then there's like the doers. You have to like find a practical way of getting that to reality. Okay, you have the vision. Okay, that's well and good. So give me the numbers. How are we gonna go about doing that? And so, because honestly, Kirk, there's a lot of ideas out there. People are thinking about ideas all the time, but there's very few of those ideas actually make it into like a business where it gets scaled and that idea changes everything. Like, like the iPhone was one of them, but
Yeah.
there could have been like thousands of other ideas that never saw the light of day because they weren't in the right place at the right time. They didn't know how to get funding. They didn't know how to do numbers. They didn't know how to do business. Like probably like many people in the audience right now, they probably have an idea. They want to see it go through, but they don't have they're like, okay, I don't know how to do a business, or how do I go about doing this? The hows, the what, the whens, and all of that stuff.
Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, if you want to put numbers to it, only 9% of businesses make it past $1 million of revenue. So even a business doing 2, 3, 4, 5 million, it's like you're way out on the curve. And then only 4.8% of businesses are around after 10 years. So it is. It's not a guarantee. It's not like taking a job and you're more or less getting that guaranteed paycheck, right? It's
Yeah.
guaranteed as anything in life.
So, Kirk, in your opinion, what is it that makes these 5% of businesses successful versus the 90 to 95% of businesses that eventually fail and don't make it? Like, what are the traits that the CEOs or like the business should have to make it succeed?
Well, let's talk about the first thing. So if there's somebody relatively new to being an entrepreneur, if they have a W-2 job, some kind of job, it could be a contractor, it could be an employee, some kind of job that they rely on to get money. The smart thing, most businesses will take longer, doesn't mean forever, but to get a business off the ground and get market traction, things take longer than a person would expect. That's normal. The world just has friction and doesn't work on somebody else's timeline. So if somebody has employment, I would encourage them to keep that employment going, start their company on the side. You figure some of these basic things out without being financially dependent on the company, right? And then at some point, you hit the tipping point where you're making enough money in the business, you already have traction, you already have customers, you already figured out how to deliver. Then if somebody has a full-time job or part-time job, they can switch over full-time to the company. So that's kind of the first thing. I wouldn't just get an idea and quit the job the next day and go start something fresh. The other thing is, don't. I saw people do this quite a bit, especially before like the COVID era. They would start a company. The first thing I do is go get an office space, get office equipment, get office staff. And how about get a customer? How about that? Right. And then they'd literally be tapping into, they work, 15, 20 years somewhere, save money, and their savings is just, cash is fuel to a business. Right. And you can just see the savings just drying up while they operate a presence. Right. In this day and age, back then you didn't need it. Right. In this day and age, you really don't need it. I mean, you can operate almost anywhere in the world that you have internet connection. So start, these beliefs that you have to start there might be other types of beliefs, but people generally have beliefs. They come from an unconscious place. I have to start a business this way. Probably not. At least ask yourself, come up with at least 2 or 3 alternatives, good alternatives. Well, and run through them, figure out what's more viable. So I think that's important, right? Start, come up with innovative ways to start your business where you can have real clients that you're delivering real value to before you start taking on expenses, overhead, office, that kind of stuff. Because you want to preserve you want to use your cash in the most optimal way. Then I'd definitely be ready for multiple tactic changes. And I'd probably include, be careful who you get married to, not in a personal relationship, but in a business relationship, right? Be careful. There's always somebody popping up who wants to be a partner.
Yeah.
Right. Oh, right. I guarantee you, they don't even know what they're going to do until they do it.
It's funny to me because there's a statistic in America, like 50 to 60% of marriages are just gone, and that's even more so in business.
Yeah.
I find
Partnerships.
the percentage is even higher, like partnerships. Yeah.
Yeah. So be more thoughtful about who you commit to, because at that point, sweat equity, that kind of stuff. Here's definitely one where I made a mistake in a previous business where we're in it together, Army, true team, we're in it together. So I had partners in business where you get half, I get half, and that person did not show up, right? Did not come through, and what I was young then, I was in my 20s. So I learned certain things. Like with partnership, you can have stock where there's voting rights. You can have stock where there's non-voting rights is one option. You can also have a clawback period. Like if I have a partner like with Foresight, there was a 5-year clawback period. The partner they literally had to perform all the way past 5 years before they get to keep the stock. And if they fall short at any point before that, let's say year 4.5, they're not doing what the business needs, I claw back 100% of the stock and they get zero value, right? Because you didn't, anybody can talk, but no one knows. You never know what someone else is going to do until they do it. So early on in business, that's going to happen, especially if I'm a new entrepreneur, I'm not quite sure what to do, and the partner shows up on the horizon. I feel like I'm not alone anymore, because being isolated, we should talk about that in a moment, is a big handicap. If you do something with a partner, kind of write out what your current understanding is. Don't make it too detailed, because your business is going to evolve so many times. The main thing is that the partner evolves with the business like you do, and the partner is given real value. And if they're doing that through 5 years, and they earn their stock. But even then, don't give up control. Make sure you keep 51%, and allow for there to be other. Your 10th year of business, you might keep space for other people to earn equity too. Can I say something about isolation?
Yeah, totally.
Okay. That's literally, if there's one thing that kills a business, is working isolated. Self-made person, just going on what you know. Boy, there's a lot of landmines. Like you laid it out. There's a lot of landmines they hit, and if a person's working in their isolation and they have to learn everything firsthand, I'm willing to bet they're going to hit a lot more landmines. I just want to bet. There's all kinds of business groups out there, right? There's some that you can pay for, like Vistage, and there's all kinds of CEO coaches out there. Plus, you can make your own. You can get business owners in your community or your industry, and create some kind of mastermind where you're learning from each other. You can bounce ideas off when you're thinking about something, or if something's not going well. You can experience share about that, and nobody can tell another person what to do, because everyone's situation, there are differences, but you can experience share. I can say, hey, Cosmo, in a similar situation, this is what was going on, this is what we did, this is the outcome. And then you're smart enough to figure out what you want to try and what you want to do for your own business. But working in isolation over the years, I remember I was working with Richard Rossi. This is like, I don't know, 20 years ago or something. And I was a relatively, young financial analyst, and he was spending a certain amount of money on the strategic coach, Dan Sullivan. And it was it was a lot of money. And I went to Richard Rossi. I said, Richard, what is this? And he explained as a mastermind and peer experience share, all this kind of proven methods. And I looked, I was a young financial analyst. I looked at him and I said to him, are we trying to build a business to get somewhere, or are you trying to live a country club lifestyle? I totally didn't understand the value of collaboration like that in a peer group. Years later, I started to notice a difference. I worked for a lot of different private companies, everything from Himalayan salt companies in Pakistan to education companies to tech companies to construction companies. Just a lot, right? Telecom. And I started to notice the difference between business owners who have a peer group and those that don't. Peer group don't. The ones that have a peer group, their minds are open, they're collaborating, they have other trusted people when they need a resource or an expertise, they had people to reach out to. The ones that didn't have a peer group, isolated, they tend to everybody gets stuck sometimes. Sometimes the business is growing, sometimes it flattens out, sometimes whatever. It's normal. But the ones that did not have a peer group and they were isolated, and they almost you can almost imagine darkness, despair, right? Uncertainty, doubt, self-doubt. Everybody has self-doubt, but a lot more self-doubt over here. So that's something I would definitely tap into local communities, and I would intentionally foster my own mastermind group, whether I pay somebody to do it, like Vistage, or whether I make it myself. And
you're the 5 people that you hang out with the most. So what you're saying is absolutely right, because you don't want to be around people that are not helping you grow. And that's unfortunately what most people, I wouldn't say most, but a lot, like a good major portion of people in today's world, they're surrounded by people that are not helping them grow.
I think that's a good point. I think you can go a step further and say, if there's people holding you back, create distance between you and them.
A lot of times those people tend to be your family members.
Most of the time, yeah.
Like most of the time, like a lot of times, like the family members are the ones holding the people back. Like they always keep it giving self-doubt, like negative talk, like close friends and everything. Like that's the thing that we have to be the most careful about, because that can actually get into your subconscious mind and it'll actually affect you. But what you're saying about masterminds and having communities and having peers, it's completely correct,
Yeah. And then you can add to what you read, what you listen to. Some stuff for entertainment is cool, but how much of that, what about other things that expand the thinking? Podcasts are phenomenal. The long form interviews where you can really get into what somebody thinks. How much time is spent on that kind of stuff versus the noise. But yes, business ownership, you're in it, you're doing it, you're finding a way. It's challenging. It's also a huge source of personal development. In some ways, you are the product of your business, and so are your employees, right? And if you have the right heart, right mindset, you can elevate each other, you can elevate yourself. And I don't know, to me, there's nothing better than seeing somebody on the team go beyond their self-imposed limits, going from the comfort zone to the growth zone and doing things they never thought they could do.
And Kirk, go ahead.
I would say they're doing it again. And that becomes a way of life, right? Continuous mastery.
And Kirk, this is exactly one of the reasons why I started Extraordinary America. What you just said right now regarding podcasts, self-improvement, and all this stuff, like you and especially like the entire concept of like American national identity, like which is about freedom, right? But the main point is we have to attain time and financial freedom. And one of the reasons I started is because most Americans are not free when it comes to like finances and time-wise. They're basically they're doing 2 to 3 jobs, or they're living paycheck to paycheck. They're doing the bills and all that stuff. So like there's a discrepancy, obviously, right, between who we are as Americans and like the freedom part when it comes to like their time and finances. So in your perspective, how would Americans go about achieving time and financial freedom?
Well, first, let me give credit to you. That's brilliant. Here we're a country about freedom, and first, we're only 250 years old. We brought a lot into the world, because of that freedom. But well, I don't think a lot of people feel free right now. And it's pretty heavy, right? There's negativity on mainstream media. It's really negative kind of stuff. And you see it. You see plenty of people working, those active hours in the business, massive hours. People believe if they need more money, they got to do more hours. So then there's second jobs, working on the weekends, and then anybody doing that, I bet you that other parts of their life is suffering. I bet you relationship, if they're married, husband, wife, I bet you kids, friendships are suffering. Good chance anybody doing active hours, I'm working 60 hours, 70, 80 hours a week. I remember I was talking to a business owner several months ago, and I'll never forget her, because she's older than me. And the hours she's working, she's got to be doing 80 hours a week, and you could hear it in her voice. I mean, and so anybody working like that, it's got to be taking a toll. Relationships, it's got to be taking a toll on health. They're running like on a treadmill so hard and so fast. Are they really gaining in financial freedom? Are they any better off? To the point where a lot of times if the tire blows out, they don't have money to get the car fixed, right? And so I've been there. It's painful, right? To be in that situation. But everything culturally, our beliefs are: if you need more money, work more hours. Versus whatever the pay rate is, how do I double the pay rate, right? How do I increase the value of what I'm doing, right? I can work the same hours and double the money, or I can work the half the hours and get the same money. There's lots of beliefs. There's beliefs about, I see a lot of potential entrepreneurs say, I need money to make money.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. I see a lot of entrepreneurs go out and raise money. They bring in all this external money and they just burn it, right? Because they haven't worked out the basic stuff yet. They give away huge chunks of their business and just burn the cash and then go back and raise more money.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a belief. I need money to make money. You got to go out and raise money. This kind of stuff. We have a culture that's hyper individualism, right? Where it's all about consumption. It's all about being happy all the time. And then you can see the impact on relationships, like couples, young men, young women. They're
Totally.
yeah. Why we're actually better together. Why are we trying to compete and bring each other down? People load up on debt, right? They give credit cards away like candy, right? And then there's economic events that economies are always in cycles. So recessions, people lose their homes, they lose their jobs. And then right behind that is the inflation, that even if you have a salary, it just, how come I'm at McDonald's, I can't buy nothing, right? And inflation eats up your if you have savings, right? It just eats it up. So there's these cycles that keep knocking people down. There's beliefs that cause me to spend more money, that could cause a person to spend more money than they have. And then there's cycles that you might get 2 steps ahead, but then the cycles come and knock you back down. And then very antagonistic on the kind of the main street. Why are we want different political ideas, right? We want different people at the table to bring things into fruition, but we're not acting that way. So I think more than in a long time. We've been through tough things before, like 1960s, and I'm sure the Civil War was tough, and then Revolutionary War. Imagine fighting the British Empire. I mean, that didn't make sense, right? And so we've been through tough things before. We'll get through this. But a lot of people are not getting they're working hard, but they're not getting the life benefits that could come with that.
So Kirk, you mentioned a part about inflation, and I couldn't agree more. Like right now, a lot of people's wages are not matching inflation. Like it's not catching up to that. And on top of that, they're taking on debt. So in your opinion, like let's say, like what should Americans do about this? Because in my opinion, they need to get education when it comes to business, and they need to get education when it comes to how the monetary system works, how finance works, how to start a business, entrepreneurship, and all of that. But like, because that's the only through education can you truly get financial freedom and time freedom. And right now, the traditional schools, colleges, universities, they are only teaching theory. They don't really teach anything practical for the most part. But I don't know, what is your opinion on that?
Yeah. I mean, inflation is going to hit like cash assets, right? Um, inflation prices go up, whatever cash you have, the value of that is your salary, at a fixed amount, is the purchasing power decreases. Cash savings, whatever you have in cash savings, the value of that's decreasing. So the flip side of inflation is normally homes are appreciating because prices are going up. If you have debt, the repayment on that debt is it's fixed dollars, but if you're increasing your income, you have more dollars to pay the fixed debt amount, assuming that it's fixed debt. So I think the rule of thumb is don't leave your nest egg in cash. Cash comes in the bank, comes in different ways: money markets, repos, CDs, all that kind of stuff. It's all basically liquid cash stuff. So the place to look at where to put your money, where it's going to keep pace with whatever's going on in the marketplace with inflation, including you got public investments, which people trade a lot. You got private investments, depending on where you're at in life, and you got I'm a fan of precious metals because with push comes to shove, platinum and gold are a currency, right? You can literally take that with you and buy something. I don't think somebody should do 100%, get gold bars and bury it in their basements, but it's something to consider.
So
And
there's a lot of talk where they're saying that the Fed will create a digital cryptocurrency, and then they'll just like they'll just use that. But yes, normally we always go back to gold, silver, and platinum in financial recession, financial crisis.
yeah, throughout societies, that's kind of been, the precious metals has been consistent. At some point, the there will be cryptocurrencies that are stable, and they're used like a currency. They're traded. You can store value, use it to trade. I'm not there yet with cryptocurrencies. To me, it's just it's too emotional, right? It's too
Yeah.
much volatility. And so I'm not the kind of person, like doing things that matter. I'm all for that level of feelings, cared about people, doing that kind of stuff. But I'm not good with emotional markets, emotional stock markets, emotional cryptocurrency. But really, really building, the promised land for folks. If we talk about what's smart in a personal life, in business, I'm working on the second half. The first half, like business building, growth, CFO business building, man, nailed that. Got really good at doing that. The other side about how to multi-generational wealth, I'm learning that, right? There's a whole new concepts there, and how to put money to work for multiple generations. That's not about consumption, because I'm a trustee for, it's not Rockefeller, but it's that type of family. I'm a trustee for that. If you're born into that family as a baby, you got like $3 to $4 million, and then on top of that, $3 or $4 million. And on top of that, there's 150 different trusts, and the baby didn't earn any of that. So the baby comes into this life is not quite ready for, and they do a great job managing the financial assets, the legal liability, privacy. You couldn't find them on a map, but they don't develop the people very well. And I've seen how damaging that is to the family members. So when I think about multi-generational legacy, I'm thinking about how do you have resources so that the humans down the line are developed, and they have backing, that kind of stuff. That's a whole area that I'm at the point, I'm on that second mountain in life. I'm I'm with different groups and different experts. I'm learning, collaborating on YouTube. I'm watching those kinds of things. And I actually, for my growth CFO company, we built what we call the Freedom Platform, so that growth CFOs can do this kind of work with business building. And it literally March, like in 2 weeks, I'm rolling out the life flight plan, where
So,
somebody like me, you can figure out the life.
so Kirk, which brings me to the next thing which I wanted to ask you was, can you tell me and the audience a little bit more about the founding, about the premise on which Growth CFO started and how you went about starting it and what it is about?
Yeah, it started that there's a better way. Like when most of us business owners think about the growth CFO is the person we don't want to talk with, right? Because you go to the traditional CFO and, hey, I got this great idea. I want to create wealth. I want to do this. I want to do that. And what does CFO say, right? They say, no, you don't got money. Play it safe. So that traditional CFO, as a business owner, I mean, you didn't help me. How about you come up with some options? Help me figure it out. How do we do it? Come up with 3 options. Work with the team members. CFO, work with the team members across the company. Figure out 3 options where it could work, right? Then make sure we do it in a way that's cash positive, right? So we're not betting the farm again. So that's it was years of experience just seeing. There's lots of role confusion about what a CFO is. Most CFOs are really accountants, they're controllers. And that kind of response, that's an accountant response. A growth CFO is the kind of person. So I've seen that play out. And a growth CFO is that person where you go to them, you got some ideas, and they're going to work with the peers. Let's figure out 3 options. So at least you get to an option, and they're valid. Here's how it adds up. Here's what puts the better outcome to your people, including your customers, and the better outcome for money, right? And that's what a growth CFO does. So the big thing there is no one person can know everything about business building, and so we do it instead of an isolated CFO, we do it as a growth CFO 3-person team. We work 90-day sprints. Different team members have different roles. Most stuff is being done backstage, so it's not putting any kind of responsibility onto a business owner that already has enough. And it starts out with destination, like. If you Cosmo, if we're talking about your business, where do you want to end up? What do you want? Not for your business, but for you. Where are you at your best? What role? What were you born to do? Then all the way through, relationships, that kind of stuff. What do you care about? And then from that, we can figure out how to build a business. What's the right role for you? Because most of us business owners, we have too many hats on. We're overwhelmed. We're working massive hours, right? And we're getting paid like $7 an hour when you break it all down. And a lot of us the financial outcomes are good, but the life outcomes are not good, right? Relationships are suffering, divorce, and the kids, that kind of stuff. Sometimes the second most common problem is that business is growing, and it feels like the wings are coming off, right? What used to work doesn't work. You can't quite figure stuff out, and you're starting to lose money. And the third biggest problem is you're stuck year after year. Keep trying new things, different things, whatever, and don't get anywhere, and it's painful. So we start with your destination, then we work backwards to figure out your financial flight plan. If you want to go from 5 million to 15 million, what does that look like, right? And where does household income come in, and at the same time, how do we increase the value of your business? So now we can see it based on it's not just a database, but we actually there's some real we know what the options are in the business because we work with team members, and then we develop team members to use the numbers better, right? Because most people don't like using the numbers. It's not a natural skill, so we teach them how to use a daily dashboard where they can take action on what they control. Then they're making sure that we're doing things in a way that's cash positive. So you got velocity of cash in the business, you can make payroll easy. And then we teach people to run scenarios, like it's a budget flight plan, but you can do the what if. So you run scenarios, so it's critical thinking. Well, what if I do this? What if I do that? And you can see with the numbers what the best path is. So that's basically what a growth CFO does. When we get involved with people, we elevate their clarity on destination, financial flight plan to get there, and then the skills of the team members that use the numbers every day to make the right decision.
Man, Kirk, I would advise anybody that's watching this to definitely check out your company, because if they want to start a business and they want to know how to go about doing that, you'd be the one of those guys I would definitely recommend. But I know you also wrote a book called The Growth CFO Void, which
Yeah.
it turned out to be an Amazon bestseller. Like, can you tell me more about what that book is about?
Yeah. First of all, I have to laugh because I'm a numbers guy. What am I doing writing a book, right? This is before there was AI that would have to write it. And so the book was amazing, right? I actually writing the book, the process of it gave me a chance to really get clarity. And what's in the book is stories, stories around what type of business owner, craft person versus mountain climber, so people can start seeing themselves. Then based on that, how do you use the growth CFO skills with numbers and data to take on the 5 obstacles to business building, right? The obstacles are like, how do I win customers? How do I keep customers? How do I build people capacity? How do I proactively get access to capital, right? So those are the main activities of any business to build. And then all that's being done on the foundation of the habits of profitability, which are the things we just talked about. Look at the monthly financials like a scoreboard. So black and white, team members can see where they're at and take action. Doing the budgets, and budgets have a bad name, they're bureaucratic. But if you do the budgets with intellectual curiosity, well, what if? What if we go into the new market? What if we create a new product versus what if we sell more of an existing product to our current customers versus new customers? You literally can do scenarios and figure out where the wins are. And for a lot of businesses that have been around for a little while, they got a track record. You can go in, I don't know if you've ever heard of 80-20 Pareto principle.
Yeah.
You can go in and, it doesn't matter what it is. It could be employees, it could be customers, products. You do the 80-20, which ones are working, which ones are making money. You can look at, 80% of my money is made from 20% of our products. You could literally stop doing 80% of all that complexity. You get rid of 80% of all the stuff that's not working, focus on the 20 that is producing most of your results, and all of a sudden you're cash flowing. And do you mind if I tell you a story about a business owner on that to illustrate that one?
Totally.
This is a true story. It was actually in El Paso, Texas. Business owner doing commercial cleaning, okay, government contractor, $30 million a year of commercial cleaning, which in my book, that's a lot of cleaning. Can you imagine how many offices you got to clean for $30 million? And I talked about her life, what's going on. Her household income was not much. You're doing all this work for a little bit of money. You could have been working 7-Eleven and do about the same. I'm exaggerating for effect, but no, you get 6 figures, but so what? We ran the 80-20, look at what contracts you're making money on. She could literally stop doing $21 million of work. So just keep the 9 million that's making money, and literally 4x her household income to almost $1 million. Right? Just by stop doing the stuff that's not, just prune the branches that aren't growing or aren't worth growing, that losing money. But you never know that. She's an ambitious business person. She wants to win the contract, so she bid the contracts below cost. The contracts might be fixed, labor's going up, the cost of materials is going up. So at some point, some of the contracts are underwater. She's literally doing this lesser free work. She's paying money to clean somebody else's office. Just get rid of those marginal customers, the ones that you'll never make happy. As an example of 80-20, less work, 1/3 the work, and you 4x your household income. And you pretty much can put that all in place within a year. You just got to unwind some of these contracts. What would that feel? How would that feel, right?
No, totally.
Yeah. The numbers give clarity like nothing else, right? You can't, you can only measure a number, right? And it does become black and white. When you do marketing for leads, there's usually 80-20. Most of your leads or your client acquisition work is coming from 20% of the activity. So at some point, maybe not stop the 80%, but maybe stop 50% and keep doing some trial and error and other stuff. Not trial and error, but research and development, right? Because marketing is always moving. So
like you are like the 80/20 applies to a lot of things. Like I understood that principle like about a decade ago, and I try to employ it in my own life, and it's basically true. A lot of times, a lot of things that we do end up being redundant, but we need to focus on the things that actually lead to monetization. Like we got to prioritize most of our efforts onto that thing. But Kirk, are you doing any projects right now? Or like or any programs that you want the audience to get a glimpse into?
yeah, so Foresight CFO, the growth CFO, do it with you work is going really well. And at this point, clients come in, they had the experience we described. So what I'm moving into is the life piece, right? Where how do we help somebody have that vivid vision of their future self and the bucket list and resources. So that's where I'm going to spend more of my time. Small groups of business owners, literally 3 times a year working on life, because I know the more clarity we get about that, where that part's working for them, it makes the growth CFO work so much better. And with most new clients, we don't start out by getting married. Oh, growth CFO, everybody needs one, let's get married. We start out by we literally do that financial flight plan for them as a project. And at that point, we know if we can come through for them, and they know if we can come through for them. So it's a small, simple way to take a first step. It's more than a date, but it's a really good date.
That is awesome, Kirk. And Kirk, how can our audience connect with you and get to know more about you and your work and your company and everything that you do?
Yeah, the best thing to do is send me an email to kirk@foresightcfo.com, and I'll spell it out. Kirk, Kirk, at Foresight, FOREGHIT, CFO.com, foresightcfo.com. And then we'll get a call together, just share vision, what you want to get out of your life, out of your business, and then from there, there's potential next steps.
That is awesome, Kirk. And Kirk, I'm so grateful and thankful that you took the time to do the show with me, because you're the financial freedom guy, and Extraordinary America is all about financial freedom and time freedom as well, right? Because we need Americans on a national scale to know that they need to get their national identity into the financial front, and they got to do something in terms of business education. That's all honestly the only way they're going to get there, like in the knowing how to do business, knowing how to do investing. So what you're doing is so important, that you have that I cannot understate like how important it is, and I really appreciate everything you do.
Yeah, and Cosmo, I love what you're doing. You literally are bringing us back to our founding principles, like why we're here as Americans. And so I love that you're doing that for us. Thank you.
I appreciate it, Kirk, and I would definitely want you to come to the show at a later time.
Yeah,
And
I look forward to it.
And I want to conclude this episode by letting my fellow extraordinary Americans know that, hey, look, there's an extraordinary within each and every one of us. It's our duty to awaken it and unleash it. Until next time, bye for now. Hey everyone, thank you for watching Extraordinary America. If you like what you see, please do subscribe to our podcast and share it with others. Remember that the best investment that you can make in your lifetime is in your own financial education, for it is knowledge that truly sets us free. Also, remember that inflation is diluting your purchasing power, which in turn increases financial bondage. The practical thing to do is to protect the loss of your purchasing power and invest in precious metals or the right cryptocurrencies. Lastly, never forget that you are an extraordinary American. We'll see you in the next episode. Bye for now.